Now, when it comes to the world of premium luxury SUVs, well, the Audi Q7 is undoubtedly popular. So much so, it's the best-selling Audi in the Indian market. Now, however, it's been launched with its second facelift, which actually comes in at the same price, which is about 89 lakh rupees ex-showroom for the base spec model, and the variant that we have here, the higher end variant, which will set you back by about 98 lakh rupees ex-showroom. So, similar value, new features, new face. It's all the reason enough to take another look at the Audi Q7. Let's kick things off by talking about the design of the car, because that is where we see the biggest change. Being a facelift, well, the big change is the face that you see over here. What's different is this new grille pattern up here. It's more butch, it's more in your face, and it adds more muscle to the car. Flanking the new grille are these new headlamps, which are more powerful and much better, says Audi. What's also different is the new bumper, which now brings the design more in line with the design of its bigger sibling, the Audi Q8. Overall, the front end design looks pretty different and will be recognizable as a typical Q7 design language that we all know and love. Coming to the side profile of the car, well, the silhouette is largely the same. There's nothing that's changed really. It's still a very nice, muscular looking SUV, and I really like these 20-inch alloy wheel designs. At the back, the big change comes in the form of this newly detailed LED tail lamp. Again, it's a similar look at the back of the Audi Q7. Would you call these changes enough in order to up the appeal of the car? And also, do you think it still looks fresh and modern, especially when you compare it to its rivals? Well, let me know in the comment section. I'll be hanging out there, and I'm really looking forward to know what you think of the design of the car. Stepping inside, the story of familiarity continues because the layout is pretty much identical to the outgoing model. So there are no big changes. It's not entirely a bad thing, because you still get a cabin that feels properly plush and built to a very high quality and standard. Fit and finish, everything is fantastic. You've got soft touch material up top, you've got this really nice stitching over here, and of course you've got the two-part infotainment system and HVAC control screens right down in the middle. There's no change over here as such, but overall the software that the screens are running has seen an update. A big miss in my books, however, is the fact that the car does come with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but it's still a wired setup. I mean, this car is now pushing 1 crore rupees once it lands on the road, and at that point you really need to have wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. I hold that feature very high in my list. Is it something that is a deal breaker for you? Let me know in the comments. I'm really curious to finding out what you think about it, because to me, I like being without any wires, and when you plug in the wires, the experience just takes a hit. Anyways, enough ranting about that. You continue to get the haptic feedback based HVAC controls, which is in the lower half of the screen, and all other infotainment experiences that are happening on the upper half of the screen. I really like these wooden finish on the dash, and of course you've got Quattro written big bold on the dashboard, telling you about Audi's all-wheel drive prowess. Well, we'll get to that in a bit. What I am a big fan of though is the instrument cluster, the all digital unit. It really has started to feel a little bit dated, because I've seen this exact layout, this styling, this design for a while now on a lot of Audi cars, but that doesn't take away from the fact that this is still one of the best units you can get in this side of the crore rupee mark. What I also especially love is the fact that the entire screen can be changed to an all maps layout. Although it's Audi's internal maps, it would be great if I could use Google Maps through Apple CarPlay, which could connect wirelessly. You get the point. Overall, it's a comfortable place to be in. You continue to get memory functions for the driver's seat. Both the seats are electronically adjustable. You don't get seat ventilation or seat heating, but still, it's a very comfortable place to be in. Now let's hop on to the back. Now coming to the rear seat experience, I've set the front seat as per my height. For reference, I'm 5'11", and I have loads of leg room on offer. I can comfortably slide my feet under the seat and have a really comfortable seating position over here. I still have decent amount of headroom left, and despite the fact there is a big center tunnel in the middle, width-wise at least, you can have 3 people sitting abreast over here at the back. In case you do have only 2, well, the middle part of the seat, of the middle seat, will pop out an armrest which also houses these neatly integrated cup holders in the middle. What also has to be mentioned is that you get a recline function for the seats at the back, so you can really get comfortable if you want to, and you can also drag the seats front and back to open up space and find that right ergonomic setup at the back. What I also like is that you continue to get blinds at the back, and there are additional vents on the B pillar as well. Talking about the cooling system, well, you have this really nice glass panel at the back here, which gives you access to climate zones. And yes, the car comes with 4-zone climate control system. So all in all, once again, it's a comfortable place to be in. This is where you would want to spend most of the time if you're buying this car. Now moving on to the last row of seats and also the boot space, which we'll talk about combined. Technically, yes, you do have seats over there, and if you are willing to put in the effort and go through the hassle of folding the seats down and everything, you can basically have children sit on the last row of the seats, but I wouldn't say it's going to be comfortable for adults. Getting in and out of the last row of seats is extremely cumbersome, so I would say that is best left folded down. And if you happen to do that, which neatly brings us to the boot space on offer as well, you have a massive amount of boot space that you can use, and you can open up even more space if you want if you fold down the middle row of seats as well. So on in all, the Audi Q5 is a very practical 5-seater, but it's not a 7-seater. I would say it's a 5+2 at the very best. Well, it's now time to get to my favorite part of the video, which is the driving experience, and this is where the story takes a bit of a turn. You see, up until now, if you're going purely by the spec sheet, you may be left wanting a bit more because the changes are far and few, if any, worth talking about, to be really honest. But once you take the car out for a drive, well, the impressiveness of the car begins to shine through. This is its strong point now. It continues to be powered by a 3-liter V6 petrol engine. There are no more diesel engines on option. It stopped when the Volkswagen Group as a whole decided to stop selling diesel engine powered cars in the Indian market, so you don't get a diesel engine powered Audi Q7 anymore. But the 3-liter V6, well, that's a peach of an engine. It's really refined, no vibrations, no noise, no clutter, nothing. It's a very, very smooth and refined powertrain. It comes connected to the 8-speed Tiptronic transmission, the automatic unit, and that too works very well in harmony with the driving experience that you expect from an Audi Q7. What you have on offer is 340 horsepower coming from this drivetrain and 500 Newton meters of torque on offer. The top speed, as claimed by Audi, is 250 kilometers an hour. What's even more interesting is the 0 to 100 kilometers an hour acceleration time, which as per Audi will take only 5.6 seconds. Those were the numbers. Let's talk about the driving experience. First thing first, the chassis and suspension setup is absolute banger. You really don't feel any of the undulations on the road. The car almost sails through all kinds of driving conditions. It's only the really large potholes that make their presence felt inside the cabin, but all in all, it's a fantastic driving experience. With such a refined drivetrain on offer, with such good NVH levels, and the amount of torque that you have, 500 of them on offer, overall, what happens is if you're driving the car and if you're not really paying attention, you would start doing very silly speeds very quickly, because the sensation of speed inside the car, well, you really don't feel that. That's just how quiet, smooth and refined the cabin is. What I also like are these small paddle shifters behind the steering wheel, which will help you go through the gears if you happen to want to push the car a little bit. If you happen to do that, you have this really nice raspy throaty note coming from the engine bay into the cabin, and I would say that it may not be the loudest, but I prefer this a lot more over, say, a fake exhaust note being pumped through the speakers. Let's talk about what's new on offer. Well, Audi has now integrated a lane departure warning system, which gets actuated by this little button on the left stalk over here. If I were to press it, that would activate the lane departure warning, and if I'm driving on a road such as now, which has these clearly defined lanes, if I were to veer off my lane and push towards the edge of the line, the steering will sort of autocorrect itself and bring the car back to the lane. That's the new feature addition on the car. However, I do believe a full suite of ADAS systems on board wouldn't have been too bad either. Where you do want to be seated though, however, is here at the back seat. This is where the car's fantastic ride and handling setup that I was talking about from the front seat becomes even better. It's clear that the car has been tuned in order to dampen down movement for those seated at the back row, the middle row in this instance. So when you're seated here, well, the overall experience is really comfortable. You barely feel the undulations on the road. There's almost no sound coming from the outside to the inside. With the blinds up, with your legs stretched out under the front seat, you can really relax and take a nap over here. It's a good place to be in. A special mention has to be made about this large two-part panoramic sunroof, which lets in a lot of light into the cabin, and I much rather have this approach to let the light come inside the cabin and make it feel airy and spacious than, say, an all-white interior, which thankfully our test car does not get. My only complaints, and I have to be nitpicking at this point, is that I sit a slightly bit knees up, and I wish there was a better under-thigh support on offer. But once I stretch my legs out, recline the rear seat, as I mentioned, well, I can get really comfortable. If you're someone who likes to be driven around with a chauffeur, the Q7's charm has remained intact and will continue to be the reason why you would want this car. So after having spent the day driving the new Audi Q7, I have to say the new part of this statement is a little difficult to justify. The value proposition that the Q7 offers to me remains identical, and as you mentioned earlier, the price also continues to be the same. So if this was a car that appealed to you, it will continue to do so, and if it didn't make the cut, well, nothing's really going to change. I believe it's about time that Audi gave the car its much needed upgrade, a generational upgrade, because now the competition has caught up, and in some areas they've even exceeded what the Q7 stood for. At the base of it all, if you just talk about the Q7, it continues to be a car with fantastic driving experience, fantastic road manners, extreme refinement, and a fantastic middle row seating experience while you're out on the road. So if those reasons are why you were considering the Q7, well, you can still go ahead and check it out. Let me know what you think of the car in the comment section below. Having said that, please do also subscribe to the AutoX YouTube channel. It really makes our day. Hit that like button, get notified so you know when our next video drops out. As of now, I'll see you later.